So recently, AwesomeFaceProd and I were playing Donkey Kong Country 2 on a stream. We got to the haunted world and realized we were low on lives. Any goof, and we were going back to the last world. So Matt suggests we make a save state, to which I replied, "No, I don't want to, I'm not gonna cheat." This started a whole debate on whether or not the aid of save states is actually cheating or not. And then Matt loses their last life in possibly the most embarrassing way possible.
Oops. Genuine accident. Genuine accident.
That was our last life.
It sure was.
God damn it! We yelled, we cried. After that moment, I definitely regretted not using a save state, especially after how stupid that death was. But regretful or not, the question still remained, are save states cheating? To answer this question, I think we need to start by clarifying what is a save state. A save state is a function included in emulators, whether it be the emulators used in game compilations, your PC, or even Nintendo's online service, that allows you to create a save point at any time, whether that be in the middle of a jump, on the map screen, you name it, and then load the aforementioned save, whenever you want and as many times as you want. The key word here is emulation. This is an external function not provided by the original hardware the game was developed for, and therefore was not programmed by, or intended to be used by the original developers of the game while the console was still in its prime. This is not to be confused with save scumming, which despite the much more negative sounding connotation, is possible due to features provided in-game by the original developers. Save scumming, by the way, for those who don't know, is when you are playing a game that allows you to save at any point, and using that ability to continuously reload your save file until you get the desired result, which is scummy, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's called save scumming for a reason. Be that as it may, it is still ultimately possible by front and center features built into the game. And if the developers did not want you to use saves in this manner, it can be assumed they would have made the restriction so you can only save at given points of the game, which is why most older games with saving features do have that restriction. So after our little, quarrel,
Let's go back and talk about the time where you were like, we just need to be really, really careful, and then proceeded to jump directly into a pit.
Okay, I accidentally held left. I ran a poll on my Twitter asking people if they thought save states were cheating or not. To my surprise, the majority of people were saying they didn't think they were. However, after reading the responses, it seemed people's interpretation was to question the morality of the feature. You know, is it okay to use them? Which is a completely different question, mind you. I'm not sure how people perceived this poll given I posted it without any context. Regardless, many were swift to reply stuff like, just let people enjoy the things the way they want to enjoy them. Likely unaware that, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. Especially when it comes to a single-player experience. You should play games in a way that is most enjoyable to you. Video games can be an escape, a way to kick back, and ultimately, if individuals can play a game in a way that is more conducive to what they enjoy, they should play it in that way. And if people like using save states, I don't necessarily think it's fair to judge those people any more harshly than those who would like to play a game on the easiest difficulty. And truth be told, I myself have used save states countless times in the past. However, responses of this nature are diverting the question entirely. Mind you, the question is not, is it okay to use save states? The question was, are save states cheating? The reason I bring this up is because seemingly a majority of people's interpretation of this question can be summarized by this completely separate question. In fact, if you were to change the question in my tweet to that, most all responses would still read fine. You wouldn't even be able to tell that wasn't the original question. So why are these questions different? If certain individuals would seemingly answer them in the same way, are they even different? Well, let's tackle this question first. Is it okay to use save states? The answer to this question is much less black and white, and by extension, much more debatable. The reason for this is that questioning the ethics of an action is a lot more subjective than debating a word such as cheating, which already has a concrete definition. There are some older games out there, such as Ninja Gaiden, which are so unfair and counterintuitive to the player that most people wouldn't even bat an eye if you were to use save states. As I said before, I have used save states countless times in the past when I just wanted to experience a stress-free session through an older title that may have design choices that are seen as outdated in a modern lens. Once again though, focusing on these factors is avoiding the question entirely. Despite whether or not save states might make an older game better, the initial question is, are playing games in a way not intended by the developers cheating? So what is the definition of cheating? To act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain an advantage, especially in a game or examination. That is the top result of its definition and was taken from the Oxford English Dictionary. Let's start from the bottom. By this definition, using devices such as Action Replay, Game Genie, or Game Shark are in fact cheating. After all, you use these devices to play the game in a dishonest way, namely in a way that was not intended given the original hardware and script of the game, and by extension, giving yourself a clear advantage by manipulating the game in the player's favor. This is common ground I think most of us can agree on. I mean, these products are commonly referred to as cheating devices for a reason. The biggest argument I see people use to differentiate cheating devices in save states is that save states do not alter the gameplay experience. They only save you time. A lot of retro games can be pretty BS, and furthermore can waste a lot of your time with restrictions such as lives. Using save states to save time is very understandable. Again, I do not disagree with the practice. However, stating they do not alter the gameplay experience is dishonest, and I wanted to discuss why. At first glance, and especially when you directly compare it to a cheat found in a cheating device, the judgment that they do not alter the experience within the game seems pretty valid. Using an action replay, you can change in-game variables to execute functions such as invincibility. That is very clearly cheating. However, save states do not alter any in-game variables. Anything possible with save states is technically possible on the original hardware after all. That might sound like a checkmate in favor of save states not being cheating. That being said, this perspective is not taking the whole picture into account. In a game such as Pokemon, for instance, there are very powerful moves that have the drawback of being highly inaccurate. Horn Drill was a move introduced in the very first Pokemon titles and will one-shot your opponent if the move happens to connect. The obvious drawback is the move only has a 30% chance of hitting said target. The cool thing about Horn Drill is that it presents the player with a risk-reward scenario. A one-hit kill move might sound broken, but it is counterbalanced by the risk. Nonetheless, with save states, you can make a save state and then continue to load that save until the move finally connects, virtually removing the aforementioned risk, providing yourself with an unprecedented, no-fail one-hit kill. Needless to say, this completely defeats the original intentions behind this move. Well, what if you're playing a platformer and are just using save states before a level and not during? I feel this is only fair to come full circle to this because Matt suggesting we do just that is what sparked this entire debate. His suggestion was to create save states before each level to prevent getting a game over. And there's a few ways to look at this. We have discussed cheating devices such as action replay, and using save states in this manner is functionally no different than using an infinite lives code using said cheating devices. Both methods will result in the same outcome of avoiding a game over after all. Likewise, the Horn Drill example given earlier would be no different than using an action replay to implement a perfect attack accuracy cheat. Even beyond the cheating arguments, save states can alter the player's gameplay experience in some major ways. Going back to Donkey Kong, let's say you opt out to use save states during your adventure. By using save states, you are removing the value of lives. I mean, what value does a life have if you are using save states to prevent a game over? By devaluing lives, you are devaluing an assortment of other things. You are invalidating the 1-up balloons since they are a direct translation to lives. You are invalidating bananas since 100 of them will grant you a life. You're invalidating the Kong letters, which is more or less removing a game within a game since trying to locate all 4 before reaching the end is a challenge within itself. And you're diminishing the value of banana coins since you would exchange those to partake in a trivia game that rewards you with lives. Of course, there's still the DK and bonus coins, but the quantity of these pale in comparison to every other collectible. Ultimately, the collectibles I just mentioned encourage players to explore the levels or take risk for the hard to reach ones in plain sight. There's a lot to take in here. Sure, the developers put in unique quizzes in each world that are now null, but the bigger caveat is that by using save states, you are stripping the game from one of the elements that defines the game, its collection aspect. Just taking these 2 examples into account, it cannot reasonably be said that save states do not alter the gameplay experience, because they absolutely do. And really, that is the bottom line. When these games were developed for their original hardware, the variable of a save state was not something considered by the original developers. I mean, why would they be? Until emulation, they flat out weren't an option. Save states allow you to play the game in a way that was not intended by the original designers. They give you an advantage thanks to means outside the capabilities of the game or its intended hardware. That, by definition, is cheating. You are playing a game in a way dishonest to its original intent and giving yourself a clear advantage by doing so. I do want to reiterate that there is nothing wrong with deciding to use save states, and for most people, their decision to do so is going to depend on the game they're playing. Oddly enough, if you phrase the question in the context of a newer game, say something like Mario Odyssey, the amount of people who would consider using save states in said game cheating would suddenly increase by a notable amount. In fact, I ran ran a second poll on my Twitter asking just that, and the amount of people who considered Savestates cheating was 10% higher than in the previous poll, which I think is proof that the question of cheating, to a lot of people, is more of a relative term, synonymous with people's viewpoints on older games. There are definitely a lot of retro games out there that are undoubtedly unfair. So by using save states, some may argue you are only evening the playing field. These arguments are defendable, certainly, but approaching the topic from this angle is, again, diverting the original question, which by definition, as addressed, is cheating. The bottom line is, while save stating might be a form of cheating by definition, especially in a single player environment, it shouldn't discourage you from enjoying the games the way you want to enjoy them. I mean, video game cheating devices are legal for a reason. If the purpose of interactive media is to garner some sort of entertainment, then any options presented to you that might heighten said enjoyment should be allowed. I mean, if Nintendo themselves are including these features built into their own online service, then I would argue that is proof that they too agree that, ultimately, it's just about the player having an enjoyable play session. Cheating or not, given your own playing experience is subjective. Most reasons I have heard for using save states are completely valid, whether it be to get that shiny in Pokemon, or prevent yourself from having to go all the way back to the beginning of a stage in Mega Man. Play games the way you want to play them, and don't let anyone stop you. Also, Matt, you are killing me with this Donkey Kong performance. I'm pretty sure every time I see you awkwardly die in that game, I'm cutting another 5 months off my life. I'm like half waiting for you to fucking die in his goddamn porcupine. Oh my! Hey, thanks for watching. I know this isn't Jackbox. Just really wanted to take a side quest so I could cover this topic. I'd like to thank patrons such as Abby Knutson, Amanda Guth, Cashnator, David Pacheco, Gwen Durhammer Hill, Jan Kopp, Jeffrey Long, John Hancock, Oliver Larkosh, Pretoria Mars, and Raleigh Batter. Also, please let me know if I butchered your name. Like, legit send me a DM on Patreon if I did. Anyways, next time we'll be looking at Drawful 2 before we could jump into Jackbox 3. So look forward to that. And until next time, have a good one.